Brothers and sisters in Christ, today we celebrate the feast of St. Lawrence. There's not much known about the life of St. Lawrence other than he died in the 3rd century, 258. It was a time of great persecution in the church, and many died for their faith. And Lawrence happened to be a deacon. Well, that we know, he was an assistant, and he cared for the needs of the poor at that time. He distributed food, and he provided what was necessary for the basic living situation of Christians at that time, who, as I mentioned, were being greatly persecuted. And it seems that at one time the persecutors, the Romans at that particular time, were looking to enrich themselves by taking of the goods that the Christians had. And they remarked to Stephen that we understand that when you have your sacrifices, that you use different cups and chalices and precious things, and we would like to have those things. After all, your God didn't give you those, you made those yourself. So what you made, as you know, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar, and to God the things that are God's. So God doesn't want these cups and chalices that you use, but he wants your word. So you give us your material possessions. And Lawrence was then asked by the persecutors at that time, the Romans, so you give us all of your possessions. And so what Lawrence did, he says, give me a few days and I'll give you all of our possessions. And in that interim, in the interval of those few days, he gathered together all of the poor, the lame, the sick, those who were could not fend for themselves, those who had whatever kind of material weakness, whether it was a bodily weakness or a material one. And he brought out these hundreds of people, and he said to the Roman authorities of that time, these are the jewels, these are what is really important in our church, in our community. And for that, he was not merely killed, but in a very unusual way. And there are many pictures of the martyrdom and the death of St. Lawrence. You see on pictures, you see him on a gridiron. Apparently he was burned to death. And it's one of the few things that is still remembered about today's feast, about St. Lawrence. And to pick up on that idea in today's gospel reading, what comes through, we've heard this so many times, unless a seed is placed in the ground and dies, it will never grow forth. It will never bud forth to what it is meant to be. And there's something very profound and wise in that, in terms of life, because that's so true. It's not until we die, we give of ourselves, of our love, of our care, of what we have to offer, that we allow others to grow. This is, of course, most clear in the lives of parents and grandparents as they give of themselves, as they, in a sense, die to themselves so that their children and their grandchildren may grow. And this is such a profound thing that we find so common in nature. We almost take it for granted. We know how that little seed has to die. And there's something within ourselves as well as people that we recognize that this is what life is all about. As difficult as it is to hear it, that it's the way we give of ourselves, we extend of ourselves, our energies, our minds and our hearts. Unless we give that for others, for the sake of others, there is no growth. We don't profit. What you and I have gotten in life, and especially when you think about it, the most cherished aspects we got from someone else. We got from our families, from our loved ones, who in their own way died to themselves so that we could live. One of the basic sayings that means so much to me, especially as I've gotten older, is basically this, and I've mentioned this many times. It's like something that becomes almost like a part of what it is to be a believer. It's not what you gain in life, but what you give of yourself that is the measure of your worth, what you are really, what you are worth in life, what value you have. It's in terms not of what you personally gain, but what you give forth for others. There's so much truth to that. This is one of the basic sayings in today's gospel reading from St. John. It really pervades the entire life and ministry of Jesus. Unless you die in the ground like a seed and grow forth into new life, you've never really appreciated, understood what true Christian life is all about.